Alright, so I decided to do this. It's gonna be much like the cinematic journeys, sporadic, but I'm gonna try to get these done this year because, the the new Bond movie's coming out, so I figure I'll take a stab at these. I've already done GoldenEye, but I'm probably gonna redo it with a little more facts in this series because I didn't plan on doing this series, and now I am. And it's now time for the history of Bond. And we are talking about the first Bond film, Dr. No, which came out in 1962 and starred Sean Connery as James Bond. Now, little known fact, some facts, when Sean Connery was chosen to be James Bond, he wasn't very well known at the time. He hadn't done anything. He did maybe Darby O'Gill at the time. And Ian Fleming himself didn't even care for Sean Connery, as he thought of him as, some kind of country boy. You know what I mean? And not Bond material. But it was actually the director, Terrence Young, who directed Dr. No, of course, that helped Sean Connery become suave, sophisticated Bond in this sense of things. So, yeah, you have Terrence Young to thank for Sean Connery's Bond, in a way. And so, yeah, we go through our cast here. As I mentioned, Sean Connery is Bond, 007, James Bond. We have Bernard Lee playing M, the head of MI6, and you have Lois Maxwell as Miss Moneypenny, who they always do the flirt scene, and for most of the movies, I think maybe they took him away during the Brosnan period, but I'm not exactly sure. And you have Peter Burton as Major Bertroyd, who will be replaced by Q in the following subsequent films. Now, during this film, there's a man named Dr. Strangway. He's kidnapped, and so it's trying to find Dr. Strangway. That's the first, kind of mission here. And so he goes to Jamaica. But we get the iconic scene where, Bond is at the casino. And he lights a cigarette as the lady there asks him, Mr. And he says the iconic line, Bond. James Bond. Iconic line, iconic moment. And you get the scene when he gets to Jamaica. Here's a fact for you. The scene in which he's going to the airport is actually the first scene that Connery ever filmed as Bond. And it's an interesting scene, kind of. You could say it's iconic because he's walking through there. The Bond theme is playing in the background. Let's talk about the music for a second here. The music in this film is so obnoxious. They're during the fight scene when he's fighting with the guy who pretends to take him, to his hotel or whatever. The music it's like a cartoon, almost like a Looney Tunes or something like that. It's annoying. And later when the spider, by the way, that spider. The spider scene obviously is crawling on glass, and Sean Connery was very afraid of spiders. So, yeah. But as he's smashing the spider, the score is going bah, 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 with him. The score is a little annoying in this. The score gets a lot better once John Barry comes in. I think it's John Barry. I've been looking stuff up. I don't know who did the score for this one. But it wasn't the main guy who usually does the score. While in Jamaica, he meets a man named Quarrel, who is actually working for Felix Leiter, who will be a recurring character throughout the franchise, played by many different actors. But here he's played by Hawaii Five-O's own Jack Lord. Not a bad pick, if I might say so myself. And also on Jamaica, he meets the Bond girl of the movie, Honey Rider, played by Ursula Anders. And that's another iconic scene. It's been parodied many times. She's coming up on the beach, walking up in the bikini. She got her hands up in her hair. It's another iconic scene. Not of iconic character scenes in this film. It's the first Bond scene. But yeah, and then they try to sneak in, and they say there's a dragon, but it's really like a tank. It's not really a dragon. It has a flamethrower on it, but it's not really a dragon. But yeah, and unfortunately, Quarrel dies. He gets set afire. But Bond and Honey Rider, they get a better fate as they're taken to Dr. No's headquarters where they are drugged. And then they have the dinner scene, which is done in a few Bond movies, a lot of them. And they meet Dr. No, who's played by Joseph Wiseman. And he's supposed to be Chinese, but they just hired a tan white guy, dyed his hair black. Don't know why they could just get someone who's actually Chinese, but who knows. Nowadays, people would get pissed. They'd call it like yellow face or something like that. People would get pissed. They'd be like, no, you can't do that. It's whitewashing. That's what they call it, whitewashing. The way things are in 2021, you would not be able to get away with that at all. And, yeah, and so Bond has to find his way out. He kills Dr. No. They have to stop this missile or rocket, whatever, from going off. And he rescues a Honey Rider who's attached. She's like trapped and like the water's going to come up and drown her or something. Originally they were going to have crabs be there because it's called Crab Key, but they're going to have crabs like kill her or something, but I thought that was too cheesy. They probably would have done it in the Roger Moore films. I'm just saying. And yes, Bond bangs 3 women. Two women. He bangs the Miss Trent, and then he does Honey Rider in the boat when Felix Leiter shows up again. But yeah, this is a pretty good start. If I had to say any, positives are Sean Connery for his first big role, really fantastic. I think Dr. No is a pretty decent villain. Bernard Lee as M is a very, iconic role for him as well. And when that first gun barrel, it's different. Like the first intro to this is very different than the others. There's no theme song really. There's music, but there's not, like someone singing the theme song like there would be in all the others. And the gun barrel's a little bit different. Kind of sounds like a little radio going or whatever. It's different. And Sean Connery's actually not the guy in the gun barrel. It's someone else. But they do eventually put Connery in because once the aspect ratio changes, you can tell that it's not him. So they had to actually put him in there. But it's someone else actually. And this first gun barrel, I think the first two, in Goldfinger, I think is the one they changed it in. But I'll get to that eventually. Negatives, the score. It's terrible. Besides the bomb theme, maybe the opening theme, it's too much. It's a standard kind of 60s, 50s, 60s score where it's overdone. There's a lot of scores in the 50s and 60s. They're just overdone to the point where you're just going, I'm trying to turn down your TV because it gets so loud, Dr. No is a decent villain, but I think not one of the best. And I mentioned Spectre, which I'm not going to try to do the anagram, but you know what Spectre, you know what it is. It's Spectre. You mentioned it. This was actually Ian Fleming's 6th novel, the first one being Casino Royale, but they didn't have the rights to it. So they did this one, which is the sixth novel, and I think it works as the first film overall. And I'm excited to go forward in each one. Just so you know, I'm not going to be giving a score for these films. No rating. No rating. I will, however, eventually do. I'm going to do a top 10 favorite Bond movies down the road. I'm also going to rank the Bond actors from worst to best, in my opinion. And yes, I will be doing Never Say Never Again, even though it is not an official Bond movie. I just can't see myself going through this without it. Just so people asking questions, are you going to do Never Say Never Again? Yes, I am, when I come to it, and we will talk about that. But this was a good start to the franchise, and I'm hoping to see more. I hear that the next one, From Russia with Love, is one of the better ones. So, we'll see. But until then, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. And I'll see you in the next one.